Hi, I'm Steve G. Jones, and I'm here today with John Harricharan. And John, thank you so much for being here today. And I'm sure you're going to share a wealth of information. Now, John is an award-winning best-selling author. He's also a spiritual motivator, a spiritual guide. He's a personal friend of mine. He's created a lot of self-help programs that have a lot to do with spirituality. Today, we're going to talk with John about how to take your spirituality and channel that into building wealth. And John has some fascinating, powerful ideas on that. We're here in New York, we're here in Manhattan, and John and I have an opportunity to be together in person to present you with this powerful information. But because we are in Manhattan, we are in the capital of the world, as some people call it, there are going to be occasional sounds in the background, some traffic sounds, and that's just the way it is. That's the heartbeat of the city as I look at it. So let's go ahead and move forward with the interview and have fun and learn what we can from John Harricharan.
Thank you. Actually, when you mention about spirituality and health and money and all of those things, my thoughts are that they're basically variations of the same theme. You see, they all come from the same thing. Now, some people say, I want to have a lot of money, but I'm not spiritual. It's like a fish being in water and saying, I'm so thirsty. Where is the water? We are surrounded by everything we need, which means wealth, abundance, affluence. The word affluence comes from the root word meaning free flow. See? So around us is everything we need. So what we've got to do, if we have a problem with health or money or relationship, we just have to focus on the part which will bring that to us because it's already there. So when we talk about money, getting it, having it, earning it, giving away a lot, making a lot of it, I think it's just a matter of changing your focus a little bit. It's just a slight change in focus. What is it you're looking at? Are you looking at lack? There is no money? Or are you saying the money is somewhere around there? Or hey, the gifts I'm giving to the world are such that the world is going to pay me back in money. One of my old friends, Richard Bach, once said to me, he's the author of Jonathan Livingston Seagull Illusions and his latest book, Hypnotizing Maria. So I asked Richard, I said, what is the secret of money? What is the secret of wealth? And he said, just hurl yourself towards that which you love. Give your greatest gifts to the world, and the world will say thank you. And I thought, give me a break. I want to know about money. Give my gift to the world, and the world would say thank you. He says, listen, when you give your gift to the world says thank you by sending you cash, sending you checks. Now I'm listening to this. I'm saying, that's great. So could you explain a little bit more? He says, let me give you an example. We were broke. We had nothing. And then we wrote this book called Bridge Across Forever. And we sent it off to the publisher, and we sent it into the world, and we gave that book to the world. And people bought the book, and they said thank you by paying for it, and it pulled us out of our poverty. Now, when people are talking about money and they think we just pray for money, as if you sit there and there's a tree and you pray, please send me money in this tree, the money tree drops. That's not how it comes about. Money actually comes from currency, the word currency having a very close connection to the word of money. Because if you look at money, M for me, O-N-E for one, Y for you. You and me become one, and there's money. It's an exchange of services. It's a giving of your gift. What is it you do best? Without thinking so much of the money, and the money starts flowing all the time. I'll give you some examples of that. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's great. Before you do, I just want to emphasize this point because I think that's a great point. A lot of people would look at an author like Richard Bach, and I think he was on the cover of Time magazine, and they would say, wow, what a success story. He's got money, he's got fame, how do I do that? And they would look at his life and they would say, well, he wrote a book, and people liked the book. So that's what I'll do. I'll write a book and I'll make money. But you're saying that's the wrong way to look at it. And what I think you're saying is that Richard Bach never set out to be rich. He set out to share his wealth of knowledge and his gift with the world, and money just happened because of that, because he benefited so many people. So your advice, if I'm understanding correctly, is that you don't chase the money. All you do is open up your heart, open up your gift, share that with as many people as possible, and you'll never have to worry about money. Is that right?
This is very much what I'm trying to say, because again, the money isn't the thing you're after. What you're after is the idea. You see, ideas. You don't need money. You just need ideas. Think of the guys who invented the telephone. They had the idea that you could probably talk across, not the ocean at that time, but across the country maybe. The person who, a whole bunch of them did, put the airplane together, not just the Wright brothers. And it was the idea of flight. It was the idea of wireless transmission by radio. It is the idea today, computers, cell phones, and everything else. They are ideas. Ideas are electromagnetic in nature. They attract to themselves that which is very much like them. So if you were to open up yourself to ideas, the ideas will start bringing in the money. Do you think Steve Jobs is worth a lot of money? I heard the other day that his company was one of the top companies on earth. The guy who started in a garage, he had an idea. Richard Bach always said he didn't like to write, or he didn't want to write. And the only way he wrote was because something seemed to grab him by the neck, sit him down, and would not let him go until he wrote what was in his heart. So you don't have to be a Richard Bach. The toughest job for us is to be ourselves. He made his money that way. I mean, come on, the guy was kicked out of the U.S. Air Force because he refused to shave his mustache, okay? He used to be, at one time, a letter carrier. He did all kinds of stuff, just like we all do all kinds of stuff. But what made him a lot of money was his books and then his lectures. And I don't know what he does now. And so, again, you don't have to be so focused on one thing and say, okay, since nuclear scientists seem to make a lot of money, I will become a nuclear scientist. You have to ask yourself, do I really want to be a nuclear scientist? I thought, to give you the money example again, here's a personal one, because I couldn't do an interview like this without giving my personal experiences. That wouldn't be real to me. I came from a family which was relatively not well off, okay? And I thought, for me to make a lot of money and create a lot of freedom, I better do something in college that was going to get me a good job forevermore. And I thought about it, and here it was, chemistry. Chemists are hardly ever unemployed, and people want to hire them all the time. I know that. So I majored in chemistry. You know, I did my graduate work in chemistry. My bachelor's degree in chemistry was a summa cum laude degree. So here I was, this hotshot chemist. After getting out of college, and I took my first job with a chemical company, within about a month or two, they called me, the boss called me and says, I have a problem with you. I thought he was calling me to tell me what a great guy I was. I said, pardon me? He says, yeah, you don't seem to be enthusiastic about chemistry. And I'm thinking, this is what I was trained to do. This is what's going to earn me all this money. And he's telling me, so what's he going to do? He says, I have two choices. One is to fire you, or the other, transfer you to a department that you probably would be enthusiastic about. So now I'm quaking in my boots, so to say. I don't want to be fired. It's my first job. And what am I going to do? I majored in chemistry. What can I do? He says, I'm not going to put you in quality control because that's chemistry again. I'm going to transfer you over to our plant where you're going to be in production and management. Let's see how you do there. So you don't want to be a chemist if you don't like chemistry. You don't want to try to be anybody else. You just want to be yourself and let yourself give you a feel of what you want to do. So I didn't stick with chemistry. I didn't stick with production and manufacturing and major corporations. You know what I wanted to do? By the way, for those who don't know, I'm a Sagittarian. They love, as you know, travel.
I'm guilty of being a Sagittarian myself, so
I love traveling, and so I found ways to travel the world. That made me money because guess what? Traveling is fun when somebody pays you for it and gives you a nice fee, when your books are all over the world, and so forth. So you see, it didn't have to do with chemistry.
okay. Well, what I'm hearing is outstanding because I'm hearing, if your dad's a doctor and he wants you to be a doctor, or your mom's a lawyer and she wants you to be a lawyer, don't necessarily follow that. Don't necessarily follow the family business or the family plan or anything like that. What about for those people, and I know there are a lot of them who are very interested in what you have to say, who are in this situation. They've got nothing really going on. They've got a job that they don't really like. They're just doing it for money. They've got an idea of what they want to do. Perhaps it's a lady who wants to publish children's books, for example. I hear that a lot, and I think that's a wonderful idea. They've got ideas for illustrations, how they can help children, so forth, and that's their dream, just to use an example. But they're kind of caught in between. On the one hand, it's their passion. They want to do that. On the other hand, they want that as their ticket out of the dumps. The dumps meaning a job that they don't like. They don't want to have to do that anymore. So how do you balance the two? On the one hand, you want to use that as a ticket to financial freedom. On the other hand, it's your passion. So how do you merge the two without focusing too much on the money? Because we talked earlier about how focusing too much on the money is not the way to go. Focusing on your passion is the way to go. But they can't really pretend that they don't want money because they do. They want financial success. So how do you balance the two?
Steve, I like that question because it's really a matter of balance. First, you can't pretend that you want to do this and being scared about doing it. Here's the word. This is the important word. Desperation. The person you're talking about right there is full of fear and desperation. It's like he's having or she's having this conversation with saying, this is what I really love, but I don't think I can do it. Okay, that's writing books is what I want to do, but I just, who am I? See these questions? You're questioning who you are. You got to get to the point of developing what I call a divine don't give a damn attitude by what anybody says except what you say. And you are the most important person. So these people, they're caught, let's say, in a dead-end job. And I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job. That's, you're there already. What you have to do is not, I hate my job, I hate my job. I'm just struggling. Listen to your self-talk. You're saying terrible things to yourself. Now, I know, and there's a lot of research done, I know a bunch of good research was done at the University of Chicago and right at Duke also on the self-talk thing and how the subconscious can't take a joke. You see, it believes everything you say. It might say, well, I don't know, he wants to be rich, but he believes that he should suffer, so that's what he wants, that's what he's going to get, suffering. So there are simple ways of training yourself. You got to train yourself. You just don't wake up one morning and say, I'm enlightened. Enlightenment comes with a lot of darkness. The first thing I suggest that someone do who finds himself or herself in that is to, and these are the practical tips, okay? And the reason I do this is because I know they worked for me and they worked for thousands of others I've told them to. The first thing, so simple. You don't have to walk on water. You just sit quietly and talk to yourself and say, I really am scared to death. You have to admit it first. I'm really scared to death. I really am not sure which way I want to go. And then you stop and do a very simple thing. Breathe deeply and let it out. Now you might say, that's all there is to it, John? Breathe deeply? Yeah, because when you do that, you're slowing down this express engine that's running with desperation. You're calming yourself, in other words. And after you do that for about a minute or so, you will find the questions don't seem to bother you as much. Now you feel a little bit relaxed. It is in the relaxation stage where you might get the message which says, don't bother. Chemistry, it's okay, that was good. You'll use it one day. And then your conscious mind will come in again. How am I going to use it one day? I just want to write books. I am not going to write a book about chemistry. And then it might flash through your mind that one day on a stage, speaking to thousands of people, you will tell him exactly this. You know, guess what? The most abundant element in the universe is the element of hydrogen. One electron going around the nucleus. Where did I get that from? My chemistry class. Okay, and do you know what? It is the simplest of atoms. So without the atom hydrogen, there would have been nothing, and yet it's the simplest. See how chemistry came into it? In a lecture. But I'm not writing equations and I'm not mixing things. Okay? You just have to open yourself for the messages to come. We're being bombarded by all kinds of messages right now. As we're doing this, there are cell phone signals all over. There are television signals and radio signals. If we were to hear them all, we'd be driven nuts. So we discriminate. You will hear the telephone signal when there's a little sound from your cell phone or a vibration, and you pick it up and you're tuned into that. So we are absorbing, we're surrounded by all kinds of messages. What we have to do is wipe out the desperation messages. I think one of the greatest enemies of wealth is desperation. We see it in the marketing field, the internet marketing field, in which we dabble every once in a while. Internet marketers, many of them market and they hate it. Teachers, many of them teach, some of them hate it. Whatever job someone is in, it seems like 3/4 of them dislike that job. So my suggestion is to get quiet and listen to the messages. Now, I could tell you how to do that as we go on.
I'd like you to put yourself in the position of a person who's receiving this information, and they're in a situation where they want to make that big move. They've been having dreams, perhaps. They've been, thinking passionately about what they want to do. They've got a gift inside that they know they want to share with the world, and it's not happening for them because their family is talking against it, or because they don't believe in it, or for many reasons combined. And I would like you to share with us some steps that they can take to go from where they are in perhaps a job they don't like, or perhaps no job, but having that gift inside, to where they want to be, which is having shared their gift, being published, or being a painter or a movie director or whatever they want to be. And take us on that journey. What exactly do they need to do to get to their level where they're sharing their gift and they are financially abundant?
I think right there are 1,000 questions. And that's good because, again, the questions are so meshed into one another, into each other, that you couldn't really draw a line and say, this is one, this is one.